an Irish setter dog. My background professionally, my first career, I was a special agent with the FBI in San Diego, California. For the Bureau, I did bank robbery investigations, kidnapping, fugitive, drug investigations. I was undercover for a while, and I mentioned that the other day, and I had a guy in the front row. He looked at me and he goes, "You were undercover?" And I said, "Yeah." "Why do you ask?" He says, "Because you're so big." I have no idea what he meant by that. I said, "Sir, we weren't actually under a cover, all right?" But I don't know. It was a great career, though. Had a lot of fun with the Bureau. We used to call it taking out the trash, right? Putting bad guys in jail. Quite often, I would run into a lot of victims of those crimes. If I'd ever go to court, quite often the victims would be there. They'd want to meet me and chat with me a little bit. Some victims were just, unfortunately, in the wrong place at the wrong time. 9/11 was a perfect example of 3,500 plus people in the wrong place at the wrong time. Other victims, they would come to me and say, "You know, I should have seen it coming. The hairs on the back of my neck would stand up whenever I talked to that guy or gal, and the flags were there, the red flags were there, the warning flags, but I didn't take proper action, and they got me." And I look at them and say, "Listen, you can't do that to yourself. You did not commit the crime. You're the victim. Give yourself a break." And they say, "Yeah, I understand." But I understand where they're coming from. Nobody likes to be taken. Nobody likes to be duped, and nobody likes to feel like somebody got the better of them. And so that's really what we're going to talk about today. Two very important topics on the screen. There it is over there. Oh boy, it got me up there too. That's disconcerting. Lawsuit prevention and greater tax savings. By setting yourself up corporately and being properly set up, you have great tax advantages, and we'll talk about those. But the most important thing we're going to cover today is lawsuit prevention, for obvious reasons. Doesn't matter how much money you save on your taxes. If you are sued and you lose, obviously they can take all of that money. So the most important thing we're going to cover today is lawsuit prevention. My clicker's over here. We have to understand some very basic things. There's a battle that's waging every single day. And the battle it's waging is the Trial Attorneys Association and the American Bar Association against you as medical professionals. Medical professionals are the most sued industry, service industry in America. That doesn't surprise you, right? You've probably heard that already. Why do you think you are sued more than anybody else? Throw out some ideas. Just yell them out. You've got the money, somebody said. Yeah, you've got the deep pockets, right? That's the perception in society that you are the wealthy ones. So, you sue where the money is. Good. Another really important reason I think a lot of doctors don't quite understand is every day somebody walks into your practice, they sit down in the chair, and you reach out and you touch them. You grab their foot, you grab their body, whatever you do to try and heal them. Anytime you reach out and touch the public, does your liability go way up? Big time. Okay. Second to law enforcement, or to medical professionals, is law enforcement, and it's probably because we reach out and touch people too. Are we reaching out to heal them? No, we're reaching out to put handcuffs on them and put them in jail. So liability is there as well. So keeping that in mind, I want to share with you just a couple interesting slides and ideas. When it comes to lawsuits in this country, we make up 5% of the world population. The United States does. And yet the percentage of lawsuits worldwide that take place here in the United States is 80 to 85%. This is not a good thing, obviously. I'm not very proud of that. Nobody should be. We always hear that our tort system is broken, and we understand that. The only way to fix that, in my opinion, is to have more medical professionals get into politics. More entrepreneurs, more engineers, less of what occupation? Less lawyers. Easily, 80+% of our politicians out there they're lawyers. They have a lawyer background. And it's even much higher than that for our judges who sit on benches. They're lawyers. And I'm not here today to bash lawyers, but I do want to point out something very, very specific. The battle that you have against the Trial Attorney Association, against the American Bar Association, against the trial attorneys in general, they work diligently every day to make sure your assets are attainable in case they decide to sue you. And if you don't believe me, I'll show you some examples. This is a very, very important thing for them. You are the cash cow for the legal industry. You are that golden goose. And they want to make sure your assets are attainable so that if they decide to sue you, that they can get what you have. And so we're going to talk about that today. There's another interesting thing. USA Today a couple years ago did a survey. They asked thousands of Americans across the country, if you're going to be wealthy in America, how is that going to happen? The number one answer, inheritance. You got rich aunt, uncle, whatever. Okay, I don't have one of those. Y'all have one of those? Okay, I don't either. The second answer they gave was lottery. Apparently hundreds of thousands of people are going to win the lottery. Isn't that nice? Okay. What's the third answer? Third most given answer was what? Yeah, I'm going to sue somebody. That's it. Number 3. Not even in the top 5 is I'm going to go to school, I'm going to get an education, I'm going to get my own practice, I'm going to work my butt off, I'm going to sleep on a cot in the back for years while I'm paying my med school bills. It's not there. You did that, I did that, we did that, but apparently that's just not, it's not going to rank even in the top 5. It has created an attitude in our society that it is okay, it's advantageous and even encouraged to sue somebody for personal gain. Let's come back and talk to you doctors, medical professionals. About 70% of lawsuits that come at the medical professional industry have anything to do with your practice of medicine. You have malpractice insurance, you set that, and you set that up in order to take care of those lawsuits for sure. The other 30% of lawsuits that come at medical professionals, where are they coming from? Have you ever heard the term slip and faller? Okay? It's an industry term to refer to people who target doctors because they're doctors and they have the perceived perception of having all the money, and they're just bogus lawsuits. And it's a very serious problem in our country today. There's really no incrimination, there's no consequence for bringing a bogus lawsuit. And so it's just part of our system. Okay? It's a big part of our system. Do you think with the recession happening over the last 8 years, the number of bogus lawsuits has gone up or has gone down? Yell it out. Gone up or down? Way up. 300% up. Okay? And this is what we're really talking about, is make sure that you are not the victim of a malicious lawsuit. Not only that, it is part of our system today across this country that doctors can be sued for their medical malpractice insurance, but they also can be sued personally. Their practice can be targeted. I'll give you an example of that right now. We had a doctor came to presentation not long ago, several years ago, I guess. We were in San Francisco. We had about 150 doctors, medical professionals of all different backgrounds. We had a doctor come up, we'll call him Dr. Adams. Dr. Adams came up after the presentation. He's a family practitioner in Napa Valley, small town area. And he said to us, I have been to this presentation before. I came 3 years ago. I said, really? Well, why are you here today? And he goes, do you have time for me to tell you a story? Said, we love stories. And he told us what happened 3 years previous. He came to the presentation, thought it was great information. You're going to say the same thing. That was great information. But for him, he'd never been sued, 22 years practicing medicine. He didn't think it was an issue. He just went back to his practice, didn't take any action. Got back home. About 6 months later, he said he ordered sandwiches for the office staff. Buying lunch for everybody. He asked his secretary if she'd get in her car and drive down to the sandwich shop and pick up the sandwiches. On the way, she runs a red light. She strikes another vehicle, and she kills 2 teenage girls that were in that car. 2 teenage sisters. It was devastating, obviously. It was very sad. The family hired an attorney. The attorney proceeded to secure for the family a $1 million accidental death payout from the auto insurance company. Pretty standard. Then the lawyer did what lawyers are paid to do, and that is to do what? Look for more money. He checks into the doctor. He finds out he does an asset search of the doctor. If you don't know this, but lawyers can do an asset search of you, and they'll find out in about 15, 20 minutes everything you own. And he found out that this Dr. Adams had been buying Bay Area real estate through the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and now in the 2000s that real estate was worth a small fortune. He owned a home, he owned a practice, he had equipment, he had a vacation home, he had assets, basically. The lawyer goes back to the family and said, listen, this doctor also has a $1.5 million umbrella insurance policy. We can get that if you'd like. Just leave it at that. Or we can target the doctor personally, we can go after his practice, and we can go after everything he owns, because everything he owns in his own name. What do you think the family chose to do? You betcha. They went after the doctor. A couple weeks later, the doctor gets a letter in the mail. If you've never been sued, you get a letter from a lawyer who's telling you basically you're being sued on behalf of his client. Dr. Adams gets this letter, a lawsuit. He's so upset, he can't believe it. He picks up the phone. He calls his lawyer and says, how can I be sued for something my secretary did? What's going on here? Well, the lawyer tried to explain vicarious liability, and she's on an errand for the practice. You're liable. And the lawyer tried to tell Dr. Adams, you've got to settle this out of court. He found out it was going to cost about $3 million to settle out of court, and he said, I can't do that. I don't have that. So he fought the case in court. Did he win or did he lose? He lost. $30 million judgment against Dr. Adams. Dr. Adams has set himself up as a C corporation back in the 70s, and a C corporation back then probably would have done a pretty good job of protecting his assets. Unfortunately, unbeknownst to him and apparently his lawyer, laws had changed. And there's something judges can do today. It's called piercing the corporate veil. Raise your hand if you've ever heard the term pierce the corporate veil. Several of you. Let me explain what this is briefly. When a judge pierces a corporate veil, that means they look at everything you own in the corporation, And if the corporation, the lawsuit targeting the corporation, if you lose, they can force liquidation of what's in the corporation, but they can also look at everything you own in your own name. And everything you own under your own name is an extension of your corporation. It's called your alter ego. That's what it's called. And then the judge can force liquidation of things you own in your own name. He lost that case, $30 million against him. The judge pierced that corporate veil, forced liquidation of everything in the practice, and he also forced liquidation of his home, his vacation home, his Bay Area real estate, everything. Dr. Adams lost everything. It's very tragic, obviously. He goes to work as an associate physician, working for somebody else's practice. He gets a letter in the mail from the court about 6 months later saying, what are they going to do to his wages? Garnish the wages for 7 years or until the judgment's satisfied. Okay? He comes back to our presentation. He's about halfway through that garnishing of wages period. Is when he comes back and he talks to us. Well, I gave you the Reader's Digest version. He gave us the longer version. My toenails were curling. It was so bad. He looked at us and we said, well, why did you come back today? And he goes, well, I want to sign up with your company. I want your company to help me take care of my asset protection. What were we thinking? You don't have anything, right? Doctor, you don't have any assets. He looked at us, I'll never forget, he says, I don't. That's true. He says, I thought I was about 2 or 3 years away from retirement. Now I'm about 10 years away from retirement. I'm not going out like this. I'm going to get my practice back. I'm going to get my home back. I'm going to get my ass. I'm going to get my lifestyle back. And then I'll go out. And while I'm doing that, while I'm getting these things back, I'm never going to let this happen to me again. I should have taken action 3 years previous. I said, okay, that makes sense. And we sign him up, and he's in good hands. He's about 2 years away from retirement. We're very excited for Dr. Adams. Now, here's the point. Did Dr. Adams himself, did he do anything wrong ethically, yes or no? No. The lawsuit was filed nonetheless. So was the lawsuit about righting a wrong? What was the lawsuit about? Ladies and gentlemen, I got to hear it from all of you. What is the lawsuit always about? It's always about money. Your assets, always. Lawyers do not work for free. They don't. There's a small handful of law firms out there. They'll do pro bono work. God bless them. But 99.9% of lawyers on this country and this planet are in the business of doing what? Making money. They don't take a lawsuit. They don't file a lawsuit. They don't go after somebody if there's nothing to be gained for themselves or their client. It doesn't matter how egregious the mistake is. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that there's money to be got. Does that make sense? Okay. So, what did I say earlier? They work very hard to make sure your assets are attainable in case they decide to sue you. Let's talk about that. When a lawsuit is born, there's two things that happen. Number one, there's a cause. You often cannot control the cause. You can't control the driving habits of your secretary. You can't control even the practices in your office of your staff. Even yourself, you're going to make mistakes. Mistakes happen. Motivation, though, you have to control. The motivation is your money, your assets. Therefore, it's your responsibility to protect them. Not your lawyer, not your accountant, nobody else. It's your responsibility to make sure your assets are protected. Okay? And we're going to show you how we do that and how we get that done. Very good. Real quick definitions. High-risk assets are things that can cause a lawsuit. Your car is a perfect example of a rolling high-risk asset just waiting to cause a lawsuit. Your home, your practice, your equipment, those are high-risk assets. Safe assets, money, jewelry, investment portfolios, likely not going to cause a lawsuit. They sit in a safe deposit box in a bank. But they're safe assets. You have to protect them. We'll talk about that. When you own a business here in America, you will file as one of these four entities right here. Either a C corporation, an S corporation, a sole proprietorship, or a partnership. I'm not going to belabor the two bottom ones today. I will tell you this, that sole proprietorships and partnerships are 10 times more likely to be audited by the IRS. Really, folks, if you have one of those two, that's the JV league. There's very little asset protection and very little tax advantages. It's really time to grow bigger and get the proper structures you need. Now, between the S and the C corporation, people ask, what's the difference and which one should I have? I will tell you this. The C corporation has great advantages, as does the S corporation. For most people making $250,000 and less, $250,000 a year and less, the S corporation in 2015 today is perfect. It's really great, and I'm going to show you some of the advantages of that. If you're making over $250,000, $300,000 a year, you might want to look at the C corporation, talk to your accountant, and they'll help you figure that out, because there's some great advantages there. But I'm going to share with you and extol today the values of the S corporation. We'll talk about that a little bit. Okay? People ask, what about the LLC? The LLC wasn't in that list of four. That's an entity, right? It is, but the LLC is not a standalone entity. The LLC will always be attached to or tied to an S corp, C corp, sole proprietorship, or a partnership. Okay? So let me ask you this. Can I have an S corporation just by itself? Just an S corporation, yes or no? Sure, you bet I can. Can I have an S corporation also that is an LLC, an S corporation LLC, yes or no? I can. Why would I want the latter and not the previous? What does LLC stand for? Limited liability company or corporation, right. Limited liability from what? What are we talking about today? Lawsuits. Yeah. Some of you are going, I had no idea what that meant. Now you know. The limited liability corporation, the LLC, is more protection, more guidelines, more rules that judges and attorneys who are going after you have to follow. It beefs up your corporate structure, gives you more protection. Who created the LLC? In 1985, the original founder of our company, Mr. J. Mitten, created the LLC with several Wyoming state legislators. These Wyoming guys and gals used to be employees of his, and together they created the LLC. The government saw its value, ratified it as a legal entity in America today, and it's awesome. I'm going to show you how we use the LLC in just a little bit. Okay? So J. Mitten, founder of our company, created the LLC. Good. The LLC does a fantastic job of protecting what's inside of it from an outside lawsuit. I'll say it again. The LLC protects what's inside of it from an outside lawsuit. I'll give you some definition or explanation of how that works in just a moment, if you keep that in mind, all right? Asset protection, step one. To get this done, how do we do it? I'm going to talk to you right now about something called the Family Limited Partnership. The Family Limited Partnership is an entity that's been around since 1914. It's a powerful entity, not used as often as it should be because it's not understood. Let me explain how we use it and why we do. The Family Limited Partnership is unique. To own a Family Limited Partnership and to be the general partner, you only have to have 1% ownership of the assets that are inside of it. And you have the title of general partner. You can have limited partners in a Family Limited Partnership. They can own whatever percentage you want to give them as a general partner, but they make no decisions. They don't sit on any boards. They don't vote. They don't do anything. They're limited partners. Who's in charge? The general partner. The general partner is in charge of everything. So when it comes to a question of liability, do the limited partners have any liability, yes or no? Can you sue a limited partner in a Family Limited Partnership? No, you can't. They have zero liability. Zero liability because they don't make any decisions. They're limited partners. You cannot sue a limited partner in a Family Limited Partnership. Who therefore has all the liability? The general partner. They got all the liability. It's their company. That's okay. We'll talk about it. Jay Mitten, when he just graduated college in the early 70s, Jay wanted to promote asset protection to small business owners. At that time, it was mostly used by big corporations, small business owners like doctors, practices, and stuff like that. Didn't use it very often, and Jay says, you should. And so he was looking to find better ways to protect assets. He found the Family Limited Partnership. He looked at this interesting structure, and he says, I can use this for my doctors. Here's what he did. Jay decided, I can create a Family Limited Partnership for my doctors. I will also create an S corporation. You see that right there, S corporation. The S corporation will be owned by my doctor and his or her spouse. 100% they own it, and the S corporation is actually the general partner and is given 1%. You can have family, friends, business partners as limited partners. It doesn't matter. It's your choice. Jay looked at that and he says, if I do this for my customers and somebody sues that Family Limited Partnership, even if they win, what percentage of the assets will they be entitled to, ladies and gentlemen? Tell me. 1%. 1%. Now, 1%, if that happened to you, you'd pay that, you'd keep on moving. Not that big deal. Let me ask you the other question. Is 1% of your assets in a Family Limited Partnership, is that 1% going to be enough motivation for a lawyer to sue you? No way. Not unless your last name is Murdoch or Gates or something like that, all right? Your 1% is not going to entice anybody to sue. It's not going to happen. There's just not enough money there. Okay? Now, to have a Family Limited Partnership, you have to have a business purpose. A business purpose is asset protection. Very good. What goes in there? Safe assets work the best. Like I said, things like jewelry, money, investment portfolios, those kind of things. Boom. Put them right in there. We protect them. Fantastic. So Jay took these ideas of the Family Limited Partnership. He wrote a book called Cover Your Assets. Clever title. Sold hundreds of thousands. I mean, just sold like crazy. Doctors start calling Jay and say, sign me up. Give me a Family Limited Partnership. I love it. And so Jay starts creating the Family Limited Partnership for his clients. His clients get sued like they do. They're doctors. They get sued. When they're getting sued now, they go to court. Even if they lose, they're only on the hook for 1%. Who do you think was not happy about this? Lawyers. They're suing this entity. They got all these assets, and then they're coming up and they're getting only 1%. Their clients aren't happy. They're not happy. When lawyers aren't happy, what do? Yeah, create new law, get rid of what they don't, and create new law, okay? Something you have to understand in our country today. Who writes our laws? Congressmen. What's their profession? 80-85% of them are lawyers, okay? So lawyers write our laws. I was in the FBI for 15 years. I'm not a lawyer. I'm a German linguist. That's why they hired me. German linguist, and they sent me to San Diego. That makes perfect sense. I think I talked to two Germans once who were lost looking for Seaport Village. Anyway, so the Bureau, I'd say probably 55-60% of the FBI agents today are lawyers. Lawyers write our laws, they enforce our laws, and the judges on the bench who are lawyers, they adjudicate our laws. All the laws they write, enforce, and adjudicate seem to benefit who? Lawyers. Okay? Not you. You all pay association dues. Those dues are going to lobbyists that your organization hires to get on that hill and fight for you. Is it a bloody fight? Some of you are more tied into that fight than others. It is bloody. It is brutal. And I hope they're working hard for you, and I know they probably are. Well, we're going to work for you as well. Watch what happens here. These lawyers fought this. They wanted to get rid of that family limited partnership. They took it to court. I'm not going to bore you with the details. In and out of court, in and out of federal appeals courts. 1974, Jay Mitten, one of his doctor clients, this old crusty old guy who's tough as nails, they take it to the U.S. Supreme Court. The U.S. Supreme Court rules 9-0 in favor of the family limited partnership. Since 1974, we have never had an instance where a family limited partnership failed to protect its assets inside of it from lawsuit. That was a huge victory for asset protection. Huge victory for you. And that doctor who took that case to the Supreme Court, God bless him for doing so. Listen, 1974, 9-0 victory. Quite often people will know that they're going to lose. The lawyers knew they were going to lose. I don't think they knew they were going to lose 9-0. They knew they were going to lose though. So they had something in place, because lawyers, when they lose, they're not happy. They don't just roll away and give up. If they're any good, they sink their teeth in and they keep fighting, right? So lawyers had an answer already in place. The answer they had in place is called the charging order. When you have an entity like an S corporation, when you take money out of it and give it to yourself or somebody else, that is called a distribution. A charging order is something that sits in the bylaws of companies saying who has the right to make a distribution. Lawyers created in their bylaws, and they started creating for all the entities they were creating, they created a bylaw that said a judge can force a distribution and order the defendant's share of the income to the plaintiff pro rata. This is called a pro rata distribution clause. Does this look good to anybody here? This is bad news. So the lawyers basically knew they couldn't grab your property, they couldn't grab your investment portfolio, they couldn't technically grab your money. But if they win, they could have a judge come around the end around and force you to pay a distribution. Doctor, what's your name? What's your name? Sabib? Sabib. I got Dr. Sabib right here. Ma'am, what's your name? Judy. Thank you, Judy. Judy is suing Dr. Sabib for $1 million. Sorry. I'm the judge. I look at the case. I rule in favor of Judy. I come over to Dr. Sabib. I see Dr. Sabib has a family limited partnership with a pro rata distribution clause that gives me the authority to force him to pay $1 million of distributions to Judy, and I'm going to make him do that over the next year and a half. How long can you operate your practice on zero profits, doctor? Not very long. Not long at all, okay? Big problem. Jay Mitten says, enough of that. If they could write a pro rata distribution clause, I'm an attorney, I can write a non-pro rata distribution clause, and that's exactly what Jay did. He wrote a non-pro rata clause in which says only the general partner has the right to order a distribution. Dr. Sabib, who's the general partner in his family limited partnership? He is. Cut the judge out. Okay? Do you think that lawyers like that? Of course not. They fought that. They tried to get that thrown out. 1977, Jay got what's called a private letter ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court, basically saying, it's okay, Mr. Mitten, you can write non-pro rata distribution clauses. It's an addendum to the original ruling. Victory. Another great victory. So we come back to our presentation. I got Judy suing Dr. Sabib over here. Dr. Sabib, I rule in favor of Judy. I come to Dr. Sabib and I see he has a family limited partnership. And it has a non-pro rata distribution clause. That means I can't order him to do anything. Dr. Sabib, I'd really like you to pay $1 million to Dr. Judy over there, but it's basically up to you if or whenever you decide to make a distribution to her. Dr. Sabib, are you ever going to make a distribution of $1 million to Dr. Judy? No, not happening. Dr. Judy, you brought the case against Dr. Sabib. Time, money, energy, effort, you won, and now you're not going to get anything. Are you happy about that? I have bad news for you, Judy. It gets much worse for you. Take a look at this, folks. Who is more interested in your income than anybody else on the planet? The IRS. In the first example, $1 million is coming your way. You got to pay taxes on that. You're a doctor, probably sitting at about a 35% tax bracket. That's $350,000 the IRS is going to get. The second example, how much money are they getting? Nothing. The IRS doesn't like getting nothing. Is that a double negative? I don't know. Okay, they don't like that. So the IRS says, well, we'll just fix that. The IRS created what is called the revenge clause. Pay close attention. You're going to love this, folks. It says, IRS ruling 77S1 through 7, a plaintiff using the charging order will have to pay income taxes on any monetary judgment, even if there's no distribution from the defendant. Translation? Put that in English. Judy wins the lawsuit. Judy gets no money, and Judy has to pay $350,000 on the money she's not going to get. Did this happen? Oh, yeah. It happened in the late 70s, many, many times over. Judy, if this happened to you, what do you think you might do to your lawyer? Yeah, I'm glad you didn't tell me you're going to kill him, okay? I actually feel I'm going to kill him. No, you just told an FBI guy you're going to kill him. You're going to fire him, okay? What else do you want to do, folks? You tell me. Sue him. You're darn right. Legal malpractice. How can you allow me to bring a case against this doctor who has a family-limited partnership with a non-pro rata distribution clause? And the lawyer's going, a non-pro rata what? Uh-huh. Now, is this some nationwide big law firm? No, this is Joe Bagadonis Esquire with a little sign hanging out in front of his house. Those are the knuckleheads who got caught because they didn't know the law. Can a lawyer go before the judge and say, I didn't know? That's not a defense. Okay? It's not a defense. So that happened quite a bit. This is not good. Good for us, bad for them. Did they give up? Do they give up ever? They never give up. Not if they're worth their salt. The lawyer said, listen, that's fine. You close that hatch. You close that door in that family-owned partnership. Here's what we're going to do. And this is what they did, folks. You pick up the phone tomorrow. You call your attorney, you call any attorney to have you build for you an LLC for whatever reason. You want a corporation, LLC, S-Corp, whatever. You ask that lawyer to build the LLC for you. He says, yeah, sure, no problem. I'll build it for you. $1,000. Okay, good. All right, great. Does the lawyer build that LLC for you from scratch, special just for you, or do they use boilerplate software? Boilerplate software. Who do you think wrote that boilerplate software? Lawyers. What do you think lies deep in the bylaws of every single entity they create with that software? A pro rata distribution clause. Some of you are sitting there right now going, I wonder what mine is. Pick up the phone when we're done and call your lawyer. He won't know, but he'll have to do some research and find out for you, or allow us to do it for you, and I'll show you how we do that in just a moment. This is serious, folks. In 2014, we had several thousand new clients come on board with our company. The first thing we do for any new client is we do an entity review. We go through that entity, we go through the bylaws, and we make sure it is actually protecting our new client. Entities they brought with them. 2014, several thousand new clients, thousands of entities they brought with them. We reviewed all of those entities. Take a guess how many of them had a non-pro rata distribution clause. Just guess. Take your pointer finger and your thumb and do this. Not one. Tragic, right? I asked Dan McNeff, the current owner of this company. Dan worked for Jay for 13 years, and when Jay retired, Dan bought the company. I asked Dan McNeff, since you've owned the company for 9 years, how many non-pro rata distribution clauses have you seen in entities that are coming to you? And he goes, not one. Never have we seen one, folks. Why? Because of this. Now, does anything I just shared with you surprise anybody in this room? I told you the battle line is in the ground. This is back in the 70s. Got it. Do you think this stuff is going on today? Every day, our company has lobbies. We're fighting, again, to protect your assets. This is what we do. Right? Very good. Let's move on. That's the family limited partnership. It is rock solid. It's terrific. There's so many great advantages to it for the sake of time. I'll leave it at that, but it does a great job of protecting those safe assets. So let's talk about the second step. Number 2, how to protect the high-risk assets, the business, the equipment, the cars, the vacation homes, the rental properties, the real estate. Here's how you do it, folks. Now, I will say this before I go any further. Many of you have heard of these things. You heard about a family limited partnership. You've heard about using LLCs to protect high-risk assets. And some of you have actually taken a couple steps and you bought a couple and you've done a little bit of this. Some of you are like, I have never done anything of this like this. I am hanging out there. I just didn't know who to call. I called a lawyer and it's like $20,000 to do it. I don't have that. We know that, okay? And it's time today to finally get it done because we use what's called a turnkey approach. Jay Mitten, the original founder of the company, had a kit that he would sell, and you'd go home and you'd create them all yourself. Dan McNeff bought the company 9 years ago. He goes, forget the kits. Doctors do not want to do this stuff. Medical professionals, engineers, they don't want to do this. They want turnkey. They want to hire someone to get it done for them. So he brought the accountants in-house, the attorneys in-house, and we do it for you on your behalf. And I'll explain how we do that in just a little bit. But the limited liability company, here's how it works. This is a really bad analogy, and I apologize, but I'm going to share it with you anyway because it works. If this is the McComber family tank right here, I'm going to battle against the Trial Attorneys Association, let's just say. And I've got the McComber family tank, and I've got myself in there, I got Barbara in there, I got 4 kids, my dog's in there, we're all in there, we're going to battle. Do I have protection? Yes or no? Yeah. 3/4 inch steel, I got a cannon out front, I got a 50 cal on top, that's protection. What happens if some chucklehead sneaks up and they throw a grenade in my tank? What happens to all of us? Kind of more, but I'm sorry, but yeah, we're dead. Swiss cheese, we're done. The whole McComber family, gone. What if I'm not, what if I do that? What if I'm smart and I actually have an individual little tank for every member of my family? There's mine in the bottom right corner. Barb's next to me. Becca, Dan, Nikki, Kyle. Shaka, my dog. He has his own tank. He's a very smart dog. Very smart. We're all rolling down the street. Somebody sneaks up on my tank. They throw a grenade in my tank. I'm dead. But is my family safe? Yes or no? Yeah. Now, this is how we use LLCs. We separate your high-risk assets from each other. Because the only way something in an LLC can be attacked or taken is if the thing inside of it actually causes a lawsuit. Okay? That's the only way. If somebody has a beef against my tank they just blew up, my LLC, whatever, and they sue me and I lose, that's fine. They can't go and say, well, we're going to go and take these other things too. No, you're not. Those are owned by separate corporations. Those are owned by separate LLCs. And that's really what we're talking about. So, lots of different examples on how this works. If you own real estate, raise your hand. You've got commercial real estate, you've got properties, you betcha. Anybody got a duplex? No duplexes? If you had a duplex, you had Unit A and Unit B, you have 2 families, separate families living in those units, how many LLCs do you think you'd want to have to protect that building? 2. Why? You got it. If you only have one wrapped around the whole building and somebody in Unit A has a beef and they sue, they're going to sue for the equity of that whole building. You just lost your building. If you've got them separated, they can only sue for the equity of their portion because it's owned by a separate corporation. Does this make sense? This is basic business strategy 101. Guys like Trump and those guys, they got thousands and thousands of entities like LLCs separating their assets. Walmart uses them. They separate the individual department stores in every Walmart are separated by their own individual LLC. You slip and fall and crack your head in Walmart and you're going to sue Walmart? No, you're not. You're going to sue the LLC separated or wrapped around the department of the store that you were in at the time. How much money are you going to get, gang? You're not suing Walmart at all. You with me? This is how corporations protect themselves. Now, the great news is this. If you are from California, LLCs can be very expensive to own and renew. It's about $800 a year to renew an LLC in California. Okay, we don't do that. We don't want you to pay that. You don't have to have your LLCs registered here. You can have your LLCs registered wherever you want, and we recommend one of the 4 Intermountain West states, Utah, Wyoming, Idaho, or Montana. The state of Utah, it's a whopping $15 a year to renew an LLC. Okay? $15. Pretty cheap. Not only that, they're pass-through states or called disregarded states so that any information you have, you don't have to do a tax return for each LLC. Yay. Okay? You don't have to. And that's great. California individual tax returns, so it can be a burden. So that's how we do it. We take care of our clients and protect them that way. So the LLC, very good. Now I will say this, LLCs are awesome at protecting what's inside of them unless you happen to live in one of the 40 of the 50 states that allows judges to dissolve LLCs. Why would a judge want to dissolve your LLC? To get what's inside of it? Yeah. If a judge can dissolve your LLC, what was the point? Why did I even bother? Fair enough? Okay, well, we fixed that problem. Like I said, 40 or 50 states, they can do it. For a judge to dissolve an LLC is not very difficult. I'll give you an example of how they do that in just a moment. No surprise, right? No surprise. They created laws that allow them to do that kind of thing. All right, so what we do is simple. We create a holding company for all of our clients. The holding company is registered. It's an S corporation. It's registered in a state that does not allow judges to dissolve LLCs. Take a guess, what is the best state out there that does not allow judges to dissolve LLCs? I'll just tell you, it's Alaska. Anybody been to Alaska? It's a wonderful place. I'd probably live there if it wasn't frozen 9 months out of the year. But they're very, very protective up there, and they don't play around. If Dr. Judy over here, she's got an LLC wrapped around her practice, the bottom left corner, somebody wants to sue that, first of all, they or their attorney has to get on a plane and fly to Anchorage. That's a deterrent. And then when they get there, the judge says, listen, you might have a problem with Dr. Judy's LLC, and we'll review that. I mean, that's why we're here. And if you win, that's fine. We'll do proper steps. But we're not going to dissolve her other LLCs. We don't play that game in Alaska. Not going to happen. Is that a deterrent? When a lawyer finds out that the LLCs are attached to a holding company and the state doesn't allow dissolving LLCs, quite often that's enough for them. They'll just turn around, forget it. We can't get after what's in all those other LLCs. There's no point. No money, no motivation. No motivation, no lawsuit. Okay? Good, so that's great. The Alaska holding company, like I said, it's an S corporation. It has two purposes. It protects your LLCs, and it also is the S corporation for your family limited partnership I talked about earlier. Okay, so it has two purposes. Very cool, and works very, very well. Okay, Alaska holding company. Now, for those of you who are employees, you are doctors who work in a hospital, or you're working for somebody else's practice, all of this information applies to you. You're a doctor. You have that big red target on your back just like anybody else. The only difference is you don't own a practice. That's fine. You still have assets. And they're going to want to go after them. The good news is this: when it comes to taxes, you're going to own an S corporation holding company in Alaska. You now became an entrepreneur. You're a business owner. Main source of your income, sure, it's coming in. It's getting taxed every 2 weeks or whatever from your job. But you now own a holding company, and you also own a family limited partnership to protect your safe assets. Welcome to the world of free enterprise. I'm going to show you in a moment. You now have access to tax laws you never had access to. In fact, the W-2, the employee, what kind of tax breaks do they get? Like next to none. Business owners get the tax breaks because the government wants you to be profitable and stay in business. And so we'll talk about that too. So welcome to the world of free enterprise. All right, good. Concerns regarding asset protection. Most attorneys know very little about lawsuit prevention. Very little. And the reason is this. The American Bar Association said that less than 1/2% of attorneys in this country list asset protection as a specialty. 1/2%. That comes out to about 800 lawyers. That's a problem. Likely you didn't have one of those. That's the proverbial needle in a haystack if you found one of those. It's a big problem. They create laws that do not protect. You got the pro rata, non-pro rata problem and other issues. And the cost of entity structuring with a lawyer is very high. We'll talk about that in a moment. Typically our doctors have something like this going on. Many of you in the room will have this. An S Corp, a C Corp, something along that line, LLC, whatever, and you get your building in there, your equipment in there, and a whole bunch of money. Just throw everything in there to protect everything. The only problem is if that corporation is sued and you lose, they will force liquidation of everything in there. And then on the right side over here, the doctor owns his home, his vacation home, property, and rental property, money. That's all in your own name. The judge will pierce that corporate veil and force liquidation of everything you own. This happens all the time. It's tragic. Okay? Our job is to make sure this never, ever happens to you. And that's what we do. This structure doesn't protect anything. In fact, it's a big neon sign. When a lawyer does an asset search and they see this is what you've got, you're going to get the letter. It's coming. Okay? They're coming to get me. Asset protection structure. This is what we create for our clients. We start with a living trust. Raise your hand if you own a living trust right now. A handful of you. Raise your hand if you have a will. You own a will. Many more of you. The reason why you want a living trust and not a will is something called probate. Okay? Probate is a complete waste of time, money, and energy. That's where somebody challenges your will in court. They're not happy with what you gave them, and they challenge you. Brothers and sisters in court fighting each other. It's horrible. Don't do that. Have a living trust. There is no court for a living trust. You die, your living trust becomes irrevocable. Your executive distributes it as you wished, and there's no fighting about it. Okay? Very important. Who should have a living trust? You got kids, beneficiaries, spendthrift beneficiaries, unmarried couples. Everybody that owns anything that you want to leave to somebody someday, you really should have a living trust and not a will. The reason why I think a lot of people have wills instead of trusts is that a trust costs about $5,000 and the will costs about $250 online. And that's not a good reason, but that's an important reason. You want to have a living trust. And so the first thing we do for our clients, we create a living trust. That's good. You'll have your S Corp, holding company, family limited partnership, your LLCs to protect your high-risk assets. The S Corporation, you will only have 3 months operating expenses in there. That's it. Is 3 months operating expenses enough money for someone to want to sue you? Yes or no? No way. The holding company, they can't sue that. The FLP, they can sue the family limited partnership, and if they win, what do they get? 1%. Remember? That's it. Is that motivation to sue the family limited partnership? No way. The LLCs, they can't even touch them unless what's inside of it actually caused the lawsuit. So go back to our doctor in the beginning, Dr. Adams. Had he had that structure in place, would there have been a lawsuit? Yes or no? Say it again. Would there have been a lawsuit? Yes or no? No way. Would not have happened. because there's no motivation. And so that's what we create for our clients. It's rock solid asset protection. The fees, if you had an attorney create that for you, it'd be about 20 grand. It's very expensive. Legally, mine has a very flat fee of $1,000. Sweet. $1,000 per entity, whatever you want. You can call them today, tomorrow, next week, and they'll create whatever you want for $1,000. A lot cheaper. That would be $9,000 right there if that was my asset protection. You paid $9,000. I have the peace of mind of knowing I'm not going to be sued. That's great. But it's still $9,000. But if I now have access to tax laws that I never had access to before, and if those U.S. IRS code tax laws save me $9,000 extra in 2015, how much did my asset protection end up costing me? Zero. Simple math, right? So let's talk about that. Let's see what kind of tax laws are in place. S Corporation can help you reduce your FICA. FICA tax is Social Security, Medicare. Right now we're paying 15% in FICA. If you're making $100 grand a year, that's $15,000 a year in FICA. It's a lot of money. Okay. What if you have your S Corporation pay you a salary? Your S Corporation and only an S Corporation. C Corporation can't do it. Family or social or partnership or the other one, they can't do it either. The S Corporation can pay you a salary. If that salary is $70,000, you still want to live on $100 grand. So the other thing you do is you take a distribution from your family limited partnership. $30,000 distribution. There's tax. You got to pay FICA tax on the $70,000 wage. 15% is $10,500. What's the FICA tax on a distribution, folks? Yeah, there is none. There's no FICA tax on a distribution. You just say $4,500, real money, not funny money, real money that would have gone to the government and the IRS is now sitting in your bank account. Just using this very simple strategy. There are people in this room who use this right now. And if you don't and aren't, time to do it. It's one of the great reasons of having an S Corporation, all right? That's a big one right there. Good. Next one, IRS Code Section 280A says that you can rent your primary home for 14 days a year and the income is tax-free. Is this a weird law, yes or no? That is a weird law. Who wrote that law? Some congressmen, some lawyers. Who did they write that law for? For them and their wealthy constituents, right? Okay? That's a weird law. IRS Code Section 288, it's a legit law. We checked in and we found out in order to do this, to figure out the rate you can charge for renting your home, you take the rate per square foot of a hotel in your area decorated similarly to the way you decorate your house. I do not live in a Savoy Hotel type home, or a Biltmore, I don't. My wife and I have like a nice Marriott home. So we called the nice Marriott in downtown Salt Lake City where we live, and we said, what's your rate per square foot? And they told us. And that's the rate we use. Very simple to figure out. The national average is 50 cents a square foot. Here in Los Angeles, it's probably $2 to $3 a square foot. It can vary everywhere. So let's just use 50 cents since that's the national average. If I have a 3,000 square foot home and multiply that by 50 cents a square foot, that means legally I can charge $1,500 a day for 14 days in a year, and the $21,000 I get from that is tax-free. Can I get a little hoo-hoo? Okay, I don't. I hoo-hoo when I saw it. I said, that is nice. That's about $10,000, $11,000, $9,000, whatever it is, at 40% tax bracket. That's a nice savings. Now, the only problem is, my wife Barbara will tell you, she's never going to let me rent my home to a perfect stranger. I don't care how much money I can make. That ain't going to happen. Do you think the congressman who wrote that law had that as his intention? Is that what he would? No. What was he going to do? Who can you rent your home to? Family? If you got family that's going to pay you $1,500 a day to rent your home, send them my way. I'll rent them mine too. That ain't going to happen either. You can rent it to your corporation, folks, and that's how it was written, and that's why it was written. Rent your home to your corporation for board meetings, training, corporate events, whatever. How many board meetings do you have to have a year when you own a corporation? How many can you have? As many as you want. We recommend have one per month. That's 12. Have a Christmas party in December. Have a barbecue in July. Invite your staff over. Invite your favorite patients over. Great. This is why the law was written, and it works very, very well. Now, your corporation isn't going to cut you a check for $21,000. It's your company. But the corporation gets to do what with the $21,000? You betcha. They get to write it off as a deduction. Okay? It's an expense for the company. Instead of having your Christmas party at some big fancy Lowe's hotel, which I'm sure would be really nice, have it at your home. It's much more personal, and you're going to save a whole lot of money. But if you make $200,000 a year, and you're at a 35% tax bracket, you're going to be paying $70 grand in taxes. Well, if I could take $21,000 off the top of my taxable income, and that's all I do, yeah, I just saved $7,350. This is a very serious law and a very serious deduction. Now, when we first came across it, we were wondering, is this going to cause the ire of the IRS? Are they going to audit our customers because of this? Well, we asked them. We said, IRS, are you going to audit our clients if we use this? And they said, no. It's our law, IRS Section 280A. The only way we'll audit your clients or have a problem is if they live in a 50-cent square foot house and they're claiming it's worth $3 a square foot. Well, that's fraud. That's stupid. Don't do that. We won't let you. Okay? Otherwise, no, we're good to go. We asked accounting firms across the country, do you use this law? They said, of course we do. Do your clients get audited? No, they don't get audited unless you claim your house is more than it is. Well, okay, we're not going to do that. We've been using this law for almost 8 years with our clients, and we've never had a client be audited because of this law. This is rock solid. This is a great tax law that just a lot of folks don't know about. You got to own a practice to do it, but that's good. Own a home and own a practice, and you can make it happen. So that's IRS 280A, $7,350 in savings just in that law right there. Now, the last one I want to share with you, it's really cool. If you have a 529 for your kids' education, and you're paying into that 529, that's great. Did anybody hear the State of the Union address in January? What does President Obama want to do with the 529? He wants to get rid of it. Okay? I don't think he'll be able to do that. I don't think Congress will let him. But he basically told everybody he wants to get rid of it. Okay? Keep an eye on that. I don't use a 529. I use the strategy I'm about to show you. I'm not going to leave it up to politicians. I don't really want to trust them all that much. So what I use is simply this, and this is what you can do as well. When you have a family limited partnership, let's say college tuition for your kid is $20,000. Instead of just giving them $20,000 out of your bank account, it's already been taxed. Don't do that. Make your son or daughter a limited partner in your family limited partnership. Pay them a distribution of $20,000. Do they have to pay taxes on that, yes or no? Yes, they do. You bet they do. They pay taxes on 20. Do you remember what the tax bracket of a full-time college student? Remember when you were in college? Yeah, it's 0. Okay. I paid tax. I got it all back because students aren't making money. They're students. What's your tax bracket? 35, 40%? You see what just happened? You just saved $5,000 to $7,000. Passing that taxable burden to your son or daughter by paying their college education, their tax bracket is 0. If they're making good money at a job, then it's 5%. Okay, cut them a check for 100 whatever bucks it is and give it to them. Don't make them pay that. But this is monster. Anytime you give money to somebody on a regular basis, once a year even, once every 2 years, don't take money out of your bank account and give it to them. Consider making them a limited partner and paying them a distribution. Big time. Parents, you got your parents, they're elderly, you're putting them in a care facility, a really nice care facility. Whatever they're paying, you're augmenting that with $2,000 a month. Again, make mom and dad limited partners in the family limited partnership, pay them a distribution of $2,000 a month. Their tax bracket's anywhere between 0 and 10% is retired folks in a care facility. Your tax bracket, 35%, so much different. You just saved $6,000 to $8,000. You with me? Sizable, right? Big savings we're talking here. These tax laws are not offshore shell accounts and garbage. These are U.S. IRS code tax laws. That's all we use and represent for our clients. That's all you need to use. Very significant. The 3 examples I just gave you are over $20,000 in tax savings. I mean, that's how significant it is. Good. So turnkey approach, how do we take care of our clients? We're going to do 2 things. We're going to do your asset protection for you, and we're also your tax strategists for the rest of your career. We grow with you. We have over 35 years of experience in the industry. We've educated over 500,000 people. We've got 20,000 happy, successful clients today, and that's great. You give us 3 to 4 hours in the next 6 to 8 weeks, and we'll have you funded. We'll have your asset protection in place. We hustle. We move. There's not a lawyer on the planet that could do that for you that quick, put everything in place. But we realize every day you don't have asset protection in place, there's another day you're unprotected, and you're hanging out there. So we get busy. We also don't want you to do a lot of stuff. 3 to 4 hours over 6 to 8 weeks, that's helping us get your information. You're doctors. Go be doctors. Don't worry about this stuff. That's what you're hiring us to do. Step 1, we have what's called a premium plus maintenance. This is you putting us to work for you. Very simply, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go through any existing entities that you own. We're going to make sure they are protecting you. If they're not, if they're pro rata problem, we'll fix it. We'll amend it. We'll file the amendments with the state on your behalf. We'll get you rocking in that regard. Next thing we're going to do is create an asset protection blueprint. This is a blueprint that will show you how we're going to protect all your different various entities and assets. Okay? You'll have that within 10 days of today. If you sign up today, you'll have it within 10 days. Why? We're moving. And we'll go through it and review it with you and your accountant, your attorney. We work with your team, not against them. We work with them. They love us. And we'll show them everything that's going to happen. This is an asset protection blueprint we did for the Geddes family, 2 doctors in Boston, husband and wife making about $600,000 a year. They had nothing. We built their trust, their S Corporation LLC, their holding company, family limited partnership, their land trust and LLCs to protect their high-risk assets. Very successful couple. They were hanging out there, and we took good care of them. They're doing great. Then we're going to create a tax impact plan. This is a document that shows the tax laws that are available to you, the definition of those laws, and the dollar amount that you can expect to save by using that tax law. Plus or minus a half a point. We're really good at our estimates. It looks something like that. You got the law, the definition, and the dollar amount in green right there. Law, definition, dollar amount. This is the Geddes Family Tax Impact Plan. The Geddes family was projected to save $58,000 in taxes. They actually saved a little bit more than that their first year. Okay? That's what asset protection will do for you. Now, that's a lot of money. People go, that's a lot of money. I don't make that much money. What am I going to save? Well, a good estimate, folks, will be 10%. That's a very safe, very conservative estimate. Most of our clients are between 12 and 18% in tax savings by using these laws. But take 10% in your head, and that'll give you a good ballpark. Okay? Serious tax savings. Then we're going to observe the formalities. We're going to go through and do your corporate meeting minutes on your behalf. It's so easy to forget to do your meeting minutes. We're just going to go ahead and write them up, send them to you. You can make additions, deletions, sign it, send it back. You had your meeting, you've got your minutes. We do that for you. We're not going to let you forget. We're going to make sure that your annual registrations are paid, your entities are paid. If you forget to do that, you get fined and all sorts of nasty stuff happens. And then finally, any administrative changes you want to make, you just pick up the phone and call us. Call, talk to our attorneys, talk to our accountants. That's what we're there for. We don't charge you any extra for that. You can pick up the phone every day and call us, and we'd love it. We'll take good care of you. For all this, we charge $100 a month. That's the fee that Legally Mine charges, $100 a month for these services. You can pay $1,200 up front. You can pay $100 a month. There's no finance fees, whatever you want to do. This is a smoking deal. When I sat in your position and I looked up here and I saw that, I'm like, what? That is cheap. I pay my accountant twice as much to do next to nothing. Anyway, so that's a great fee, $100 a month, that's what we charge. That's the premium plus maintenance. Now, when it comes to entity creation, actually creating your entities for you, like I said before, Legally Mine charges $1,000 per entity. Today, tomorrow, next week, next month, it's always there for you. No problem. Because we're here today, because you allowed us to come here, because you folks did not run off to the mall for lunch, you came back in here, we have a special offer. And it's nice. It's for today. It's to incentivize folks, who want to take action, to motivate you to go ahead and take action. We realize that this information is never going to be more important for you than it is right now. Does that make sense? And I'll be, I'm going to go home and think about it, and I'll call you guys back. And they go home and find out the dog pooped on their Persian rug, and their son hit his head, and he's got a gash, and he's bleeding everywhere. And all that great information goes in the file of someday I'll get it done. We know that. We don't want you to play the someday game. That's the dice rolling game. That's the I hope I don't get sued game. So to motivate you to take action today, we got a nice offer. It's good for today. I'll be here for about an hour and a half, I guess, 2 hours answering questions and signing folks up. So when I leave, it's, you always have the $1,000 offer, which is great. This offer, though, is kind of special. And that offer is simply a $5,000 cap. What does that mean? So if you sign up with the company today, you pay the corporation $5,000 for the cap. No matter what your blueprint requires, you're covered. If you got 5 entities, great. You would have paid $5,000 anyway, $1,000 each. If you got 10, 15, 20, 30 entities that you need to protect your assets, you don't pay anything for those extra. You got the cap. You're good. Okay? And it's not just for the blueprint. The cap also is for all future entities that you need. So if 2 years down the road, you buy a rental property, love it. You pick up that phone, call us up, say, hey guys, I just bought a rental property. Sweet. We wrap that sucker in an LLC faster you can spin. You're protected. You don't pay anything for that. Okay? You don't pay us to do that for you. And that's nice. We want to grow with you. If you're young and you're just out of med school and you're, I'm eating top ramen, I throw a hot dog in there on Sundays. I'm broke. Well, all right. If you sign up, you're not going to be broke for long. I can guarantee you, if you're a doctor, you're going to be acquiring assets. And we'll grow with you. If you're a year or two away from retirement, people ask, well, do I need this if I'm about to retire? If you're going to work on Monday, what do you think the answer is? Yeah, you need to protect your assets. And if it's only for a year or 2 or 3 years, great. We'll protect them. You'll have great tax advantages of taking care of you. And then when you go into retirement and you sell everything off, we'll dissolve everything for you. We'll send you off to Belize and away you go. Okay? We're here to take care of your needs and make sure you're protected. Good. Now, I will say this. The company is something that comes with the cap. People who buy the cap, we know that you're going to do your blueprint when it comes. You've already paid for it. It's covered. Because we know your blueprint's going to be covered, we can do your tax impact plan. We could tell you the tax laws and the savings you're going to get. We know. You're getting the whole package. It's really kind of nice that the company says, we're going to go ahead and extend a guarantee. The total investment you can make with this company for the year would be $6,200, right? $5,000 for the cap, $1,200, $100 a month, or $1,200 up front for the premium plus maintenance. That's $6,200. It's only a year contract. I like that. At the end of a year, you decide if we took care of you like we said we would. And if we do, you can sign up for another year of $100 a month. That's it. Okay? This you only do once, and you add to it. You don't have to recreate everything every year. So that's nice. Because of that, the company says, listen, we're so confident that the structure is going to protect your assets and provide great tax savings for you. They actually have a tax savings guarantee. This little form right here, which simply says you're going to get $6,200 at least that much back in your taxes at the end of 2015, or we are going to pay you the difference. In other words, 100% guaranteed return on your investment. It's still coming back to you. So with that, your asset protection actually ends up costing you nothing. If you're brand new, young, and you don't have a lot of assets, and you're W-2, so you don't have the S corporation, great. It applies for you too. You get $3,000 extra back in tax savings. Hey, it's $3,000 you didn't have. That's nice. We're going to go ahead and cut a check for $3,200 and send it to you. You're guaranteed to get every penny back. That's 100% guaranteed return on investment. Now, when they told that to me, I said, I like that, but it's not 100% guaranteed ROI. Dan McNeff, the owner of the company, is looking at me and goes, yeah, it is. I go, no, it's not. Not even close. I said, what are you talking about? Anybody see where I'm going here? No? I looked at that and I said, I only set that up once. You're guaranteeing I'm going to get my $6,200 back. That's sweet. That's nice. I appreciate that. But 2016, I got all that in place. I got the same tax savings coming in, gang. 2017, 2018, 2019. You with me? That's like 1,000,000,000% guaranteed ROI. That is an investment I paid for a year and a half ago that I'm going to keep getting money back for the rest of my life. That makes sense? So as far as investments go, man, I've never done any that good in my life. All because I needed asset protection. Wonderful. So that's what's going on today. That's a beautiful offer, and I love it. Took advantage of it. Good for you. Now, any questions before I wrap this up? Any questions I did not cover during the presentation? Yes, sir.
Going back to your Dr. Adams, if he had this set up and he did get sued, which one of those would have had to crumble and fail?
If he had that in place, would there have been a lawsuit? Yes or no? Probably not. But if they did bring it anyway, if they sued the S corporation, he'd only be on the hook for 3 months operating expenses. That's all that's in there. If they sue the family limited partnership, he'd be on the hook for 1% of his safe assets. Yeah, he'd be on the hook for that. If they sue an LLC by itself, he loses. He might have to sell what's in the LLC and pay that as a judgment. That's it.
In theory, they could sue all three of those, though, or just one?
They could. And if they tried to, and they won, I'm still going to survive that. my 3 months operating expenses and my 1% of my safe assets, I'm still going to survive that. Isn't that beautiful? That's awesome. That's what it's all about. And I will say this before I wrap up. Our clients do get sued. We have never had a client of ours in 9 years actually be sued to fruition. Not once. What happens? Our client calls us up and says, in fact, we had a guy named Joe DiMaggio, the second cousin of the Joe DiMaggio, Rental Association president in Baltimore, Maryland, owns 66 rental properties. When I show him the cap right there, he says, you tell me I pay $5,000, I get 66 LLCs? We say, yes, sir. He takes out his credit card and he goes, can you catch it? I said, don't throw your card at me. I mean, he was like, this is a no-brainer for me. Okay, good. Joe calls us up 6 months later and says, I just got sued. I got sued. I can't believe it. So great. When you get sued, if you're a client of ours, you send us the letter. Dan McNeff, the owner of this company, calls that lawyer. Hi, I'm Dan McNeff. I own Legally Mine. We've done the asset protection for Dr. Judy, who you just sued. Do you mind if I show you something and kind of walk you through the protection she has, just as a common courtesy? No, I don't mind. We send him Judy's blueprint. She says, Judy, can we do that? She's like, yeah, go right ahead. We send Judy's blueprint off to him. Dan McNeff walks him through it and shows him, you're not going to get anything by suing my client. Not only are you not going to get anything, you likely would be sued by yours. Just thought we'd share that with you. Goodbye. Click. Hangs up. 2-3 weeks later, every single time our client gets a letter in the mail, what does that one say? The lawsuit has been dropped. Every time, gang. We have a 100% success rate. Is that worth anything? You bet it is. That's the peace of mind that you are getting when you get your asset protection put in place. Okay, good job. So, $6,200 today, no problem, or $5,100 today, and then $100 a month if you'd like. You're guaranteed to get all that back. You're going to have that for the rest of your career. You're going to have that protection in place. For me, it was a no-brainer. I'm going to be right out that door. Turn left. I'll be standing right there. Answer your questions. Those who want to sign up, of course, we got the contract. It's very simple. I'll show you how it works. You get your guarantee, of course, and you're good to go. If you have private matters you'd like to share with me or kind of discuss with me about divorces or inheritance, that kind of thing, I'm here for you. Okay? You've been a wonderful audience. Thank you very much. Appreciate you.